Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Sylvia Radulescu, and it's my pleasure to introduce David Whitman, the 20th president of Hamilton College.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate you doing this tonight.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk to you about Hamilton.
No, it's my pleasure.
Tonight we're going to talk to President Whitman about the state of the college, including its needs and changes that are going to be going on. We received a number of questions online before the interview, but for those of you watching live, feel free to send in some more, and we'll try to get to them in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So, let's get started.
Great.
President Whitman, I'd like to start the interview by asking, what are your impressions of the college after being here for about 6 months?
So, it's been a terrific experience for me. I love the college. I've had an incredible set of opportunities here. Every day when I just walk around, I think how fortunate I am to be on this campus. Recently on a weekend, I was wandering through the Kennedy Center for the Arts, and we were just entered a studio. There was a student working there. She was doing an incredible sculpture, and she stopped and explained to us what she was doing and all the creative work that was going into it, how all the different machines in that studio operated. We wandered into a different studio, and there was a student who was working on putting music to film, and he was working with lots of computers and showed us how that all operated. And as I listened to those students, I thought, what an incredible opportunity to get this kind of education, but also what remarkably talented and engaging students we have. And that's been pretty much my experience throughout this last 6 months of just having a phenomenal experience at one of the best liberal arts colleges in the country.
And what do you think are Hamilton's greatest needs and challenges?
So, like any institution of higher education, we have a set of challenges facing us. Some of them are common to the entire sector, some more specific to Hamilton College. When I think about what the big challenges are going forward, I look at the history of liberal arts colleges in the United States and think about Hamilton's place in that history. And on the one hand, the college has been on an extraordinary upward trajectory, and that's been great, and we want to sustain that. On the other hand, liberal arts colleges as a sector have been declining in number, and their share of the number of students going to college has dropped significantly. So it used to be maybe 40 or 50% of people would get their degree at a liberal arts college. Now it's maybe 2 or 3%. And in that kind of environment, we have to think about how do we demonstrate to people the incredible value proposition of a college like Hamilton, which you understand if you are here and you experience this kind of an engaged learning community. But if you don't have that experience, it may be more difficult for you to understand it. So we need to get our message out around the country. We need to reach people in parts of the country that haven't historically sent many students to Hamilton. And that's one of the challenges that we face. And related to that, and perhaps the biggest challenge, is just the increasing cost of higher education in general, and including Hamilton. As our comprehensive fee gets higher, and as it grows further and further past the median income of a family of 4 in this country, we have to work hard to make sure that a Hamilton education is affordable and is accessible to anyone who is qualified. And that's going to take some work going forward.
There was a question actually about the price of college rising, but we'll get to that in a second from one of the alumni. But for those of us just joining us, or for those of you just joining us, feel free to keep sending in some questions, and we will try to get to them as we go on in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So you said that you want to spend your first months listening and learning, and this question is from Michael Blasey, class of 2007, and he asks, colleges pride themselves on innovation, yet at many schools there's a trend to follow rather than lead. Is Hamilton innovating or following? And what proposals are under consideration that, as far as you know, are original here at Hamilton?
So it's an interesting question. I'm tempted to say that the answer to the question, is Hamilton innovating or following, is yes. And I mean, we're doing both, and we should be doing both. Of course, we learn from our peers as they learn from us. There's a constant dialogue between institutions of higher education. Faculty visit at other universities and colleges, their faculty visit here. We're constantly learning from each other, and if a good idea emerges somewhere else, then by all means, we want to look at it and adapt it to our situation. At the same time, we also want to lead in different areas. And I think we've done that in many ways historically. So we're well known for our writing, our focus on writing and oral expression, and I think we've got a terrific program in that area. We have a very innovative program in the digital humanities. Really throughout the curriculum, there's a lot of innovation going on. There's innovation in the classroom and in the work of our students and our faculty. We're thinking very carefully about what's the future. And we just this month launched a strategic planning process. So we have 4 committees. One of them we're calling the Imagining Hamilton Committee.
Okay.
I used to call it the Blue Sky Committee because the idea was they were really going to just brainstorm and come up with big ideas for the future, innovative ideas. Then we realized people might refer to the committee by its initials, so we changed the name, and now it's Imagining Hamilton. But we're asking that committee to think about really basic questions about the future of the college and its role in higher education. So is our business model sustainable? What is and what should be distinctive about the college? Really fundamental questions. And I'm hoping that some really creative and innovative ideas will emerge out of that planning process. I don't want to prejudge it yet, though. I've heard some great ideas already, but I want to give this next year and let that conversation go forward. We hope to engage faculty, students, staff, alumni, other members of the community, and really generate some creative things where we will be leaders as we have been in the past.
Now, Hannah Carlisle, class of 2014, writes, I was pleased to see a public statement from President Whitman on the recent immigration executive order. That being said, many of our peers have taken additional steps to support those impacted by this and other executive orders. So what steps will Hamilton be taking in this vein?
So we've taken a series of steps. It's an important question. As you know, the executive order that was recently issued by President Trump has raised concerns on college campuses around the country, and we've addressed those in a number of ways. In a message that I sent to the campus in December, I addressed some of the concerns that students and faculty have and indicated that, as has been our practice in the past, we don't share information about a student's immigration status with anyone. That's private information. Unless we're in some way legally compelled, we keep it private. We don't have a police force at Hamilton. Some universities and colleges do. We have a campus safety unit, and they don't ask students about their immigration status, and they don't cooperate with law enforcement on enforcement of immigration laws, again, unless we're compelled to do so. And we are looking for ways to support our students. We want all of our students to thrive here. We have, for most of our 200 years, been a very international university. We bring students from all over the globe here, including from some of the countries that were affected by the most recent order. We have faculty from around the globe. We have visitors from around the globe. And that's important. It's important to us. It's important to the future of higher education to have that constant flow of people and ideas. So we've told students who are directly affected by the recent order that we will provide support to them. We're in conversation with them. We're looking at options for legal assistance, should it be needed. And we're trying to do everything we can to support all of our students. And I think we're doing pretty much what we can, and as much, and in many cases more, than many of our peers.
And that's really great to hear. Tom Brush, class of 1990, who's also a parent of a current student, says, President Whitman, there are a number of long-serving faculty and administrators who are probably nearing the end of their careers at Hamilton around the same time. How do you plan to address not only this talent loss, but also the historical perspective and the leadership that will be missing from the campus with their departure?
So it's great to get these questions from parents, and I'm delighted that parents are in our audience and are engaging. I always like to hear from parents. And it's a really important question. We're at a transition moment, an inflection point for the college. This year we're doing 16 searches, 16 faculty searches. In a normal year we'd be doing maybe 3 or 4. Our Office of Institutional Research anticipates that by 2025, fully half of the faculty at the college will consist of recent hires or new hires.
Wow.
And the reason is we're seeing waves of retirements because some of the baby boom generation is hitting the retirement age. This is true at a lot of colleges. It's particularly true here, partly because of the timing of our merger with Kirkland. And so a lot of faculty were hired at that time. That was in 1978, and those faculty are either at or nearing retirement age. So we're anticipating continuing waves of retirements. This is true around the staff as well. And what that means is there's both a challenge and an opportunity. On the one hand, we're losing some tremendously talented people who've been enormously dedicated, who spent 30 or 40 years, sometimes more, working here at the college. So a vast treasure trove of institutional expertise and dedication and wisdom. But on the other hand, we have the opportunity to hire some tremendous new people. It's a great market if you're looking to hire new faculty. They're bringing new energy, new ideas, new pedagogies to the college. And so we're trying to balance those two things, this loss of wonderfully talented people around, at the same time, the opportunity to bring in some wonderful new people. And it's also an opportunity for us as a college to think about the curriculum of the future and the college of the future. So as we hire, what areas do we want to emphasize? You know, how do we want to move the college forward? It's an opportunity for us to diversify the faculty. So a lot of opportunity there, but a lot of challenge.
And again, we want to welcome everyone who's just joining us live. Feel free to send more questions in and to share on your Facebook page that more and more friends can see. Now this one is from Doug Lemov, who's class of 1990. And he says, recent data suggests that the overwhelming majority of private colleges do a poor job of attracting students who are not in the top decile of socioeconomic status. And what do you think Hamilton can do about that?
So it's an important question. It's one that has concerned me. I have seen the data. The most recent data that I saw that reflected what's happening at colleges around the country was based on students who had actually matriculated before 2010. 2010 is the year that our college went fully need blind. So that was a year in which our trustees made what I thought was an incredibly important commitment, and it's a commitment to access and affordability. And they decided that we would be need blind in the sense that we don't consider need when we make the admissions decision. And after we've made that decision, which is based purely on merit, then we have a commitment to meet the full demonstrated financial need of any of the freshman admits that we've made. And I think we are strengthening the diversity, including the socioeconomic diversity of our campus from that point forward. But it's still a challenge. And one of the things we've seen is that families with resources have an advantage. Their children have all kinds of opportunities for enrichment programs as they grow up. And that does give them an advantage in the admissions process everywhere. And so we're looking at that very carefully, and one of our big objectives in going forward is to more actively recruit and reach out to students from lower socioeconomic levels who might not consider a college like Hamilton, who might not have thought about a college like Hamilton, who might not have realized that we will provide the financial resources they need. And I think if we can do that successfully, we'll make a lot of progress on this issue.
To follow up on that, what do you think is the best way to do that? Like to reach out to them and to let them know, like, look, like we are need blind, or look, like this is a phenomenal opportunity.
So we've got a wonderful admissions team headed by our dean, Monica Inzer, and they're looking at all kinds of creative ways to reach out to students. Often it may involve working with guidance counselors in particular high schools. It may involve social media and kind of new opportunities around social media. So we're studying new ways to reach out. We like other colleges, send admission materials to a plethora of students across the country, and I think there's a risk that they get buried. They're getting mailings, they're getting texts, they're getting emails from so many institutions. So how do you make yours stand out? So we're really looking carefully at that, and that's one of the things that we'll be looking at in the strategic planning process. How can we really move forward on this question?
So thanks to Katie Miller, who's class of 99, and Riker Jones, who's class of 2015, they actually asked similar questions. Katie asked, you've come to Hamilton during a turbulent time in America's political history. Can you share what you, the faculty, and the administration will be doing to ensure a safe and welcoming community, as well as an environment for constructive dialogue?
So this certainly has been a turbulent time. I think anyone who pays any attention to politics knows that in our country, in a way that I haven't seen in many decades, there's a lot of division and a lot of strong viewpoints strongly held. So we are trying to encourage an environment on campus that is safe in more than one way, and that encourages expression of different viewpoints. So when people say, what are you doing to, to create a safe environment on campus, they often mean something different by it. So some people by safe mean physically safe.
Okay.
What are you doing to make sure that there's not crime on campus? What are you doing to make sure that we manage things like sexual assault, which, as you know, has been a very difficult challenge on campuses across the country?
Yeah.
What are you doing to limit substance abuse? And we have a lot of programs around all of those questions. And in connection with sexual assault, for example, we formed this year a sexual misconduct working group. We're working closely with students and faculty and staff and alumni to really review our policies and make sure that we have the safest possible environment we can have. But that's one form of safety. There's another form of safety that people often talk about, and that has to do with both a sort of emotional and intellectual safety.
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about there is students who feel that maybe they're subject to some form of verbal harassment, or we have students on campus who feel that their political viewpoint, because it's not reflective of what they see as the majority viewpoint on campus, may not be welcomed. And so they may not feel comfortable speaking up in class or speaking up in a social conversation. And I've made it a kind of theme of my presidency to encourage everyone on our campus and everyone who's part of our community to engage fully and respectfully with each other. And I've said this at convocation, I said it in my welcome remarks to the new students in January, I said it at inauguration. I'm saying it now, every opportunity I can, I want people to engage with each other, to consider viewpoints that are different than their own. That's really where learning takes place, whether it's social or moral or intellectual learning. And if you're talking only to people who think exactly as you do, it's going to be hard to learn a lot. It's when we engage with those with whom we have differences that we learn. And at the same time, I'm saying, let's do it respectfully. Let's recognize that there are different viewpoints, there are different backgrounds, there are different experiences represented in our campus. And let's be thoughtful about how we engage with each other, but let's engage.
Yeah. And in a similar vein, Elizabeth Feinegan Menges, class of '84, asked, how is Hamilton dealing with trigger warnings and the First Amendment for professors?
So it's an interesting question. I'll start with trigger warnings. I'm not, that maybe is a little bit more straightforward. There was early in the year, in the fall, the University of Chicago sent out a welcome letter to freshmen in which they said they don't support trigger warnings in safe spaces. And there was a lot of discussion generated by that letter. When I think about trigger warnings, there are two viewpoints that are often expressed, but they're both a little bit of a caricature of what I think is actually happening on college campuses, at least on this campus. So one viewpoint sees this as an effort to, prevent students from being exposed to anything that they might find unpleasant or offensive, or that, runs contrary to their political beliefs or other deeply held beliefs. Another viewpoint is that, we've had students who've experienced serious trauma, and they shouldn't under any circumstances be unwillingly exposed to something that might trigger a reaction on the basis of their past experience. But really, I think what's happening is quite different. We have individual faculty who know the subject matter of their courses and who make decisions around, should I, in my syllabus or otherwise, indicate to students what I'm going to be covering, particularly if it's an area that might raise sensitivities for students, just so that they can come prepared to discuss and engage and not be caught off guard. And each faculty member makes that decision for him or herself. And that's part of academic freedom. And that's true on this campus, and it's true on every other campus. And I haven't seen any indication that it's a problem here. So it's not the kind of stereotype thing that people sometimes assume it is. So it's trigger warnings, and what was the other?
First Amendment.
Academic, First Amendment for faculty. Well, our faculty, like faculty around the country, like our students, like our staff, like everyone here, has the right of free speech. The First Amendment, I'm going to put my lawyer's hat on. I can't resist this. I did go to law school. The First Amendment doesn't apply directly to a college like Hamilton because we are a private college. First Amendment restricts government action, so it would apply to a public university, not directly to a private. But having said that, we absolutely uphold the First Amendment here. We respect the values that are implicit in that. And faculty have free speech. Everyone here has free speech. There are limits to free speech, and there's an extraordinary body of case law that kind of lays out what those are. I have not seen it become a flashpoint, at least in my experience here at Hamilton. We've got a wide range of viewpoints that have been expressed. I've seen very respectful dialogue. I want to see more of that respectful dialogue. I haven't seen an issue come up yet, and I'm not saying it won't, but in my 6 months here, that hasn't been a problem.
This question actually just came in on Facebook. Pam Havens, a parent of a current student, says, is consideration being given to adding new technology-oriented majors? We're sort of constantly rethinking and reevaluating the curriculum. And one of the, so I mentioned our strategic planning process. We've got 4 committees. One of them is an academic vision committee, and expressly part of its charge is to rethink our curriculum and to look at curricular issues. We have a faculty committee or faculty committees that are routinely looking at the curriculum. Departments are constantly looking at the curriculum. So this is a long way of saying, yes, we're thinking about how technology, can be incorporated into the curriculum here at Hamilton. We're not at the moment contemplating a specific new major related to technology. We have a computer science department and concentration, but we're constantly thinking about where we go in the future. So we have a digital humanities initiative. There are lots of ways in which I think computing can be integrated into the curriculum, and we are looking at that. But this is a process in which many people are involved. Faculty, the dean of faculty, our planning committees, and so it's going to be a process going forward. Now this question is from Robert Wang, who graduated in 2005. Over the past few years, an increasing number of varsity coaches at Hamilton have officially restricted their student athletes from joining a Greek society. And this trend is concerning to me because I've always believed that the beauty of a Division III school like Hamilton is that you have the freedom to diversify your college experience with all sorts of different activities. So what is your opinion on this policy?
So I will agree with the question in part. That is, I think it's incredibly important for students to have a wide range of experiences on campus, and I think they do. I want to correct one perhaps misimpression, which is that it's an official policy. In fact, the policy of the department is that students may join fraternities or sororities, but in some instances, coaches will discourage membership because of unfortunate past experiences. And if a student says, I want to join a fraternity or sorority, a coach will sit down with the student and walk through the various scenarios around which the coach may have concerns. At the end of the day, the decision is up to the student. But I certainly agree that having a wide range of experiences is important.
Do you think that if playing time or involvement with the team is being held over a student's head, that might also impact whether or not they join, even if it's not like an official sanction?
If that were the case, yes. I don't believe that. As far as I know, that's not the case. I think what the coaches do is they walk through the options with the student and they say, here are the concerns we have. This is why we think it might pose a problem for the team. At the end of the day, our goal with athletics, as with anything else, is to do what's best for all of our students. So the students who are the whole team, but also the individual student, which is why, as I understand it, the policy is, at the end of the day, it is the student's decision.
Okay. Then Charlotte Bennett of 2017 asks, how do you plan to address the student body's lack of trust in the administration?
So, in law school, we always talk about fighting the hypothetical, and so maybe I'm going to be guilty of that for a moment. My sense is that there is actually a lot of trust between the student body and the administration. Now, you may tell me I'm wrong. Maybe I'm living in a dream world, but I talk with students all the time. I eat lunch with students in the dining halls. I go to sporting events. I was just at the basketball game. I talk to students. I go to dinners and plays, concerts, all kinds of events with students. We include students in strategic planning. I meet regularly with the president and vice president of the student assembly. So we have lots of ways of engaging with students, and I'm constantly talking to them about what we're doing, why we're doing it. I try to hear their concerns, and I always ask, what can we do to make Hamilton better? So we're a campus of close to 2,000 students. Inevitably, there will be some students who feel that the administration hasn't done something that they would like it to have done. I'm trying to be as transparent as I can with not just students, but faculty, staff, and alumni. And so I would like to think that there's actually a fair amount of trust. It's not perfect, and there will always be occasions where decisions are made, and for privacy reasons or legal reasons or other reasons, we can't fully share the basis for those decisions. My hope is that by my getting to know students, they're getting to know me, they're getting to know other members of the administration, and vice versa. We I think, do have a significant level of trust, and I think we can build it further.
Now, Junior Jared Pazzi and Jan Whitney, who's a parent, asked about languages on campus. So Jared specifically asked why Hamilton doesn't offer a minor in Italian. And then Jan mentioned Arabic, saying that her son, who's a senior, has taken several courses in Arabic, but he won't have anything to show for it on his diploma.
So languages is something that we're looking at closely. At the beginning of the year, I attended a retreat with the Dean of Faculty and her staff. We talked about languages, and I asked them, you know, if we were operating with a completely blank slate, which languages would we offer? Recognizing that we can't offer every language, right? And, you know, there was pretty broad agreement. Well, of course, we're going to offer Spanish. You know, so many countries it's spoken. Chinese is a hugely important language geopolitically, Arabic. And as you start to move down the list of languages, the consensus started to get thinner. Currently, I think we offer around 10 languages at Hamilton, which is a substantial number for a college our size. I think 20 or 30 years ago, maybe we offered 6 or 7 languages. We have a critical languages program to offer a few additional languages. But we have to make choices around the resources that we're going to invest in any given language. And at the moment, we don't have minors in Italian or Arabic. When we make those decisions, there are faculty committees that make recommendations. The full faculty will consider it. And there are a number of factors that they'll look into. Demand by students is one, but strategic choices around where we invest resources and what faculty we have also influence the outcome of those decisions. So I understand the desire for minors in Italian and in Arabic and some other languages. We got a request to teach Hindi this year, and we are doing a partnership with the New York Six so that we can have a couple of students take Hindi. But we can't offer every language, and in every language, you know, we can't offer a major in every language that we do offer, or a minor. So it's a question of resource constraints. And last thing I would say is that while I realize a student would like to be able to say, I minored in X language, even if they can't say that, they're getting something very beneficial by studying that language. They're learning the language, the culture, you know, they're engaging intellectually, so it's not that they're coming away with nothing, but I appreciate that they would like even more.
And the final question just came in from Facebook. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name, but Anna Marie Chirella. What advice would you offer to Hamilton's incoming class of 2021?
Well, you know, I'm happy to say that this year we have a record number of applications. We're recruiting an astonishingly talented group of students, as we have in the past. And what I would say is take full advantage of the opportunities here. They're extraordinary. When I look at what our students are doing, it's a rigorous academic program, but they're also engaged in multiple activities outside of the classroom. And that's one of the great strengths of a place like Hamilton, is you can really do it. I won't say you can do it all, but you can do a whole lot. And I would encourage our new students to take full advantage. Model yourself on people like Sylvia. We've got fabulous students. Thank you, Sylvia, for taking the time tonight.
Thank you, President Whitman. And thank you for everyone who watched tonight, and thank you to everyone who submitted questions. This is going to be available on Facebook and on the college website, so you can share it with friends, or if you want to watch it later, you can see it. Good night.